Thank you. Can you see? Born in a large family of 9 in Nevada, Professor Sheriar had a tough journey, literally walking 4 miles a day to complete his high school. But his passion for education did not stop him from completing his BSc from the Princeton College, and then he went on to get his MSc degree from the Institute of Science. From 1951 to 1989, Professor Sheriar served at the Trident College in various positions, from a lecturer in biology, professor of biology, head of bioscience department, senior vice principal, to acting principal, and finally, professor emeritus. In 1954, when he was professor at Trident College, he was given an opportunity to become an NCC officer. After 20 years, he retired as a major, a rank which was held by just a few officers in the whole of India. He had written and published biology textbooks with his colleagues from various colleges for first year to final year classes, which were very popular with Bombay University students. As an educationist, he had been invited by several educational and charitable institutions to be a trustee on their board. To date, he was chairman of the Alexander Girls English Institution, senior trustee of Sir J.J.B.P. Institution. He had 14 schools, junior colleges in Mumbai, Valsad, Narsari, and Surat. He was trustee of the Biovibrity Girls School in Bandra, trustee of the CZA Charitable and Educational Trust, and president of the Bandra Parsi Association. His association with Bombay Parsi Panchayat was from 1970 to 2000 in various capacities. He was member of the following committees: Rural Garden Management Committee, Rural Homes for Boys and Girls at Kolkata, World Zoroastrian Congress, Mobiles Immigration Scheme, Holiday Program for Youth. Some ordinaries of Sir, now school, the 62nd year celebration. Release of the special poster cover, the 62nd year celebration. Our annual concert, 150 years, and legacy goes on. Historic time capsule. These are memories that we at the Alexander Girls English Institution in all exchange. Your guidance was a blessing, your memory a treasure, your love to your words, and you will use your memory. And now follow on, I will be able to speak of the Jubilee Students.
evening, friends. Thank you for being here with us. Professor Khurshed Sheriar, our chairman, passed away on Wednesday, 3rd February, leaving us all deeply grieved. He was on our school management board since 1987 and was the chairman of the board of trustees in Lyte since 2016. Professor Sheriar, as you saw here, was from a priestly family of Rwanda, and he embodied Zoroastrian qualities throughout his life, with education and charity as his focus area. He was a senior trustee in many education institutions, and he was especially committed to Alexander School and devoted much of his time and expertise to develop education and values at Alexander. On a personal front, I worked under him at Alexander Board for over 20 years, and we were also trustees together at the Sebastian school system in Mumbai and Gujarat. On behalf of the trustees and directors of Alexander Institution, and on personal behalf of my wife and myself, we offer our sincere condolences to the family of Professor Khurshed. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Now we have Professor Mrs. Johann to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. At the offset, let me say that I truly intended to attend the condolence meeting in physical form. Unfortunately, because of the rising cases of COVID in our area, I was unable to be present physically. Let me say that Professor Sheriar ji was truly a role model for me. He was an educationist, a person whom I've always admired. And it has been a learning process for me, being on the board of directors and trustees of our school. The expertise that he has portrayed in several matters, be it for the staff, for the students, and handling everything, always in a very efficient, yet in a very sympathetic manner. He has always paid attention to values which he thought must be imbibed in the modern generation, especially of our school students. His interest in the institution and the goodness and the welfare of the school was indeed something that was worth mentioning. I would like to share a little personal experience with you. In the year 2016, Professor Sheriar ji and myself, we were both at the Breach Candy Hospital in rooms next to each other. When Professor Sheriar ji knew that I was in the room next to him, he would ask the sisters every day about my health. And not only that, he came to visit me in my room twice or thrice. When he was leaving to go home, he came to pay me a visit, wished me goodbye, and said, "Today I am going home. Soon it'll be your turn to go home too." These words have always stayed with me. This shows his extremely gentle, caring, and loving nature. Even thereafter, at every board meeting, he would make it a point to inquire about my health. These are instances which have always stayed with me and will always stay with me. Words I cannot express my sorrow in. My heartfelt condolences to his family, May his soul rest in peace. Thank you.
I've had the honor to serve with Professor Sheriar on the board of Alexander for the last couple of years. I actually knew his granddaughter, Shri, and when I got a call from school saying that would you like to be director on the board, I first called Shri because it was her grandfather's signature which was on that letter. And she has always spoken so highly of him. So when I got a chance to actually meet him and speak to him, there was a plethora to learn from. He was someone who really believed that God is in the details. We used to have meetings and activities, and he would make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed. Because he was a perfectionist. He wanted to make sure that we had gone through every scenario, positive and negative, before we took any decision. The board will deeply miss him, but I know that the other trustees and directors have got so many learnings from him that his legacy at this school will always continue. Professor Sheriar, we miss you. We thank you for everything that you've done for us and the school. May you always rest in peace.
I now call upon Mr. Memoria, the chairman of the AGEI, to address us.
Very good evening to one and all. We have all gathered here on a very solemn occasion on the demise of our beloved chairperson, Professor Sheriar. I have personally been acquainted with Professor Sheriar since the last 40 years, since 1980, when I joined the Child College, at which point of time he was the vice principal. And I remember that I had some query on a certain matter with regard to some admission process, and the office directed me to him, and he immediately helped me with the problem. After that, of course, though I was in the college in the commerce section, I was never really studying under him, and did not really have much of an interaction. It is afterwards, when my daughter joined the school, that I came to know that he is also on the board of the Alexander Girls English Institution, and then in the last few years, in my various capacities in the PTA, I have had a lot of opportunity to interact with him. And what came across was that he was very humble. I remember one or two instances clearly that before 2 years back, one of the teachers in function, one day before in the evening, out of the blue, I received a phone call from him stating his apologies for not being able to join for the function which was to be held the next day. That speaks volumes of his humility. Later on also, I had the privilege of being associated with one of the many institutions in which he was a trustee was the Parsi Girls School Association, from which he resigned 2 years back, where I also currently happen to be a trustee and the honorary treasurer, and I had the privilege of his attendance in one or two board meetings prior to his resignation and retirement from that board. And I also got the first-hand opportunity to really learn and study how he used to deal with various issues. The way Mr. Gopla mentioned, there was one important matter which was deliberated, and he really went through the pros and cons, and subsequently he sent a detailed letter which is recommendations to our president, which was shared with the board later on. We will definitely at Alexandra miss his presence. I would also like to take this opportunity to convey a condolences personally on behalf of Mr. Commissariat of the PGSA, also to a formal letter has already gone to the family members of Professor Sheriar, and may his soul rest in eternal peace, and I am sure he will continue to guide us with his wisdom for many, many years to come. Thank you very much once again, and my condolences to all the members of Professor Sheriar's family. Thank you.
Head teacher of the pre-primary primary section, Mrs. Anna Patel, and please.
Good evening, one and all. 3rd February was indeed a very sad day for us. Our dear Chairman, Board of Directors, Trustee, Professor Sheriar, answered the call of his mentor and sailed to a distant shore to his heavenly abode, leaving a void impossible to fill. An upright gentleman, prompt in action, and always had our institutions good at heart. He led a full life and was active right up to the end. May the noble soul of Professor Sheriar move on to the highest realms in the serene and tranquil portals of heaven. And may the Almighty give strength to the family to face the terrible personal loss with fortitude. We at Alexandra School share in his family's sorrow. Thank you one and all. God bless.
Kindly allow me to read out a little poem which I penned out especially for this occasion. A trustworthy trustee was he, to many a school and institute you see. Blessed with long life and good health you see, ensuring quality education existed wherever may be. Disciplined to the core, always wanting to do more. Improving facilities in institutions and schools with a large heart, framing easy rules. Lending a hand to parents in need, ensuring education for children in need. This our chairman, a humble soul, played with full responsibility a noble role. Eternalist and to be honored. We now request the son of Professor Sheriar, Dr. and Sheriar, to address us all.
Firstly, I need to give our thanks on behalf of my family, my sisters, my brothers-in-law, our children, and our grandchildren for this condolence meeting that has been organized in a very difficult time. It's a tribute for us to a father, a guide, a friend, and an inspiration. And what I say today, I speak on behalf of my family. Thank you, trustees. Thank you, directors, principal, teachers, students. I can tell you that your iconic historic institution was extremely special to my father. Dad never really, said a lot about all that he did, but I could see that he had great pride in being a part of this particular school's management and governance. When I look back at where daddy came from, his roots, our father came from, and I think some of it was brought out. A quote by Jesse Owens, the American athlete during the 1930s, comes to me because he came from really humble background. He said, "We all have dreams, but in order to make dreams come into reality, it takes an awful lot of determination, dedication, and effort." And I can see that was what made it possible for my father, who came from a priestly family in Udwada. The family came under the Mirza clan. They had the right to serve the Iran Shah, and he decided that he wanted to do something more. So interestingly, after doing his Nawar Martab, he refused to do the Samil, knowing that he would then be kept behind in Udwada, and he came to Mumbai as a teenager And a dutiful son that he was, he started working, supporting himself, supporting his education, and not just that, even started sending home some support to his parents. They were 9 siblings. Amazing. I mean, I think it was already told how it was a primary school in Udwada, Sir JJ school. His secondary school was in Pardi, which was another railway station, traveled to the station every day. That was the kind of fire he had for education. He made a future for himself. There was no guidance, but he came to Mumbai at the age of 16, started working. And interestingly, our family surname was Sheriar Jina. And in Mumbai, he made it Sheriar. And he told me that at that point in time, we had our freedom struggle. He was a young teenager, all fired up, participating in a lot of the events. And, Sheriar Jina and the Jina that came in, that he decided to let it go. And that's how our surname became Sheriar. Teaching was his calling. There's so many things he could have done. I know he was passionate about medicine. And in a way, vicariously, he appreciated the fact that his wife was an exceptional doctor, and I had the good fortune of going into medicine, as did my son. Because had he not been a teacher, that's what he would have wanted to be. I remember the meticulous preparation that my father had for every lecture that he gave. The time he would take, the notes that he would make, how quietly he was correcting papers into the night. He was a part of the university, the academic council, and many of these things he didn't even tell us. That's how humble he was. He was also creator. One of the things was when he created with his very close friend Nader Modi, the YCZA, which became the organization for Zoroastrian youths for many, many decades. He was a big part of the Bandra Parsi Association, being what he did, supported the formation of the youth wing. But I think in the last so many decades, it was his role as an academician and as a trustee that really stands out. Now, here I must confess, a few years ago, I had a conversation with Dad, and I said, Dad, you're in your 90s. Don't you think it's time you stepped off these boards? And he just smiled. And when he came to live with us last year, and when I saw him attending meetings on Zoom, and when I saw him sitting with all those papers and the minutes, going over each and every paper that came in the morning and kind of working on them and getting them out in time, I realized that this man may be 94, but he had the heart and the mind of being someone who wanted to be in academics and supporting institutions all the time. He could think in governance, he could think like management, and at the same time, he thought about the teachers and the students. He was an amazing partner. Mummy and Daddy had almost, they would have celebrated 60 years of marriage, but Mummy passed away in April, and their anniversary was on the 3rd of May. They complemented each other. And I can tell you, when my mother had an illness for the last 5 years, he was doing all this. And at the same time, he was continuously by her side, holding her hand, even when there was very little response from her. And the partnership that they had was something that has been a learning for us, his children and his grandchildren. Father, grandfather, and friend, I can tell you, he instilled amongst us a sense of honesty and integrity and fairness. There was never a compromise. And I'm glad to say that he was a very, very proud Zoroastrian, and he believed that this is something that was part of his faith and his humanity. Well, we would have a lot of conversations. The two of us would talk about politics. I can tell you we were both liberals. With my daughter, his granddaughters, he would enjoy a cup of tea, and he would be the one who would make a cup of tea for them. He would be absolutely at their level. With my son, he was just waiting to discuss sports, which I wouldn't discuss with him, but they were crazy about it. So he could be different things with different people. That was really, really moving. And he was very, very proud with what his children achieved, my sisters, with what his grandchildren did, and now his 3 great-grandchildren. He was a role model for many. And I can tell you that there were people in our family, in the next generation, who just looked up to him. So Justice Arush Kapadia was my mother's first cousin. And for them, Khurshed was something special, because growing up, they had no other role model in their families except my father. When he was installed as Chief Justice and he had to invite a handful of people, my father and my mother were included, because Sarosh felt that he owed so much to what my father was, just to inspire him to get to that particular level. The letters we've received from his students from all over the world are amazing, telling us this. His friendships and relationships were great. Friends like Mr. Nader Modi, then there was Mr. Sam Choksi, all his co-trustees and co-directors. I know he had a very special bond with them, with Sir JJ and with so many of the others. And it was very mutual. His group of close confidants in the YCZA, they were always some people. Now, basically, what did he stand for? What did he live for? What did he teach us? Firstly, my father was extremely religious. He prayed every day for probably an hour and a half. And I used to always kind of joke and say, Dad, you're doing it for everyone. We don't probably need to, because you do it so well and for so many people. He was extremely tolerant of everyone. He practiced the essence of Zoroastrianism. He never, ever had a negative word to say for someone else or for another faith, ever. He was an epitome of integrity. I can tell you that for him, it was a black and white world. It was a right and wrong world. There were absolutely no grays. And that's something that we learned from him and we inherited. He was very disciplined. And he would keep to deadlines. I saw him writing his books, which were the most popular books at that time. And I could see him doing every diagram in the textbook of botany himself, and then working with the artist to make it better. Tremendous humility. Believe me, it's after his passing that we are learning about so many things that we did, which he never even told us about. He wore all his achievements, all his honors very lightly. He never spoke about them really. Fairness at another level, never was negative with anyone. And finally, of course, I can tell you that the way he left the world was itself a lesson for us. I mean, he was there with us. He was with his family the night it happened. We were all there. My sister, my brother-in-law, my children, his nieces. At 2 a.m. in the morning, he's getting ready because he wasn't looking well to go to hospital. We had a cup of coffee, went to the car, and he was gone. I think it was a blessed departure. So I'd like to end by quoting our Ralph Waldo Emerson, who actually said what kind of completely wraps up his life. He said, the purpose of life is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, and to have made a difference. He made a difference. Thank you.
Sheriar, on behalf of the management, I would like to thank everyone for attending this condolence meeting, whether in person or on Zoom. Thank you for your presence here. God bless you all. God bless you, Alexander. And we will wrap up today's function, today's condolence meeting, by singing our school song. We request you all to come stand.
Dear Alexandra ne'er forgot, but always brought to mind, and Khurshed, our founder great, in memory is enshrined. For knowledge, learning, and success, no better school you find. Give alma mater loyalty, all love and thoughts all kind. To alma mater, let us sing a song. To alma mater, let us sing a joyous song of praise. To alma mater, let us sing a joyous song of praise. A flag of knowledge is unfurled, its standard we must raise. For one May God its light still bless. To Alexandra we will sing, to Khurshed as well. Pray God's protection for our school, and so we say, all's well.
On behalf of the management, staff, students, and the AGEI, the Alexander Girls Institution, we convey our heartfelt condolences to the family of Professor Sheriar, and we pray that God gives his soul